Man, let me tell you. The week started with that classic mix of chaos and disbelief for anyone following the Baltimore Ravens, because even when Lamar Jackson is just going about his routine, even when he's literally doing nothing but healing up and getting ready for the next battle, somehow he becomes the target of another wave of random negativity. It's wild how the guy can be focused on practice, talking about feeling better, brushing off the usual bumps and bruises that every football player deals with. And out of nowhere someone decides it's the perfect time to stir up drama using his name like it's free fuel. Lamar went back to practice saying he felt good. That getting banged up is part of the game, that nobody walks through an NFL season untouched. All normal, all reasonable, but suddenly, in the middle of that, a list pops up online calling out the most overrated quarterbacks in the league, and you already know how these lists go. They're never made with nuance, never made with context. Never made with any real intention beyond getting people riled up. The picture on the article was Jordan Love, so right away it felt like one of those attention-grabbing pieces, but no one, absolutely no one, expected to scroll down and see Lamar Jackson sitting at number 1, like some kind of headline meant to shock more than inform. The write-up basically claimed Lamar wasn't just overrated in today's NFL, but one of the most overrated in the entire history of the sport. They went as far as calling his 2 MVP awards borderline fraudulent, saying his regular season numbers were inflated and meaningless because he hasn't delivered when it counts. And you read that and think, are these people even watching the games? Are they tracking the efficiency? Are they seeing the touchdown-to-turnover ratio? Are they aware he's doing things no quarterback in modern football has duplicated? Because the way Lamar is playing, the precision, the decision-making, the ability to take care of the ball, the way he controls an entire offense, none of that screams overrated. If anything, it screams you're not paying attention. And that's exactly why a former Ravens receiver ended up weighing in. Sometimes someone who's lived inside that building needs to speak up. He said this whole situation is a perfect example of what media has turned into today, where people toss out wild statements just to get attention. And the sad truth is, the more outlandish the take, the more traction it gets. That article was everywhere within hours, not because it had substance, but because it insulted a player who doesn't deserve that kind of disrespect. People ate it up, shared it, argued about it. And that's exactly what the writer wanted. But here's the reality. Lamar Jackson isn't even 30 years old and already has 2 MVPs, multiple All-Pro selections, Pro Bowls, records that stack up with legends, and numbers that continue to evolve every single season. This is a quarterback who transformed the identity of an entire franchise. Yet the same tired narrative keeps getting recycled, like it's some kind of loop that certain people just refuse to get out of. The playoff argument gets thrown out like it's fresh material, even though football is the ultimate team sport, but somehow, wins and losses become solely his responsibility when it fits the story someone wants to tell. You never see this same energy aimed at other quarterbacks who also haven't reached the big stage, who have fewer awards, fewer accomplishments, and yet somehow remain protected by the media as if the rules don't apply to them. What's even crazier is how consistently the goalposts move for Lamar. Every season he answers a criticism. People say he needs to throw better, he throws better. They say he needs to cut down turnovers, he does. They say he needs to command the pocket, he does. And every time he does what they ask, they come back with a new demand, a new angle, a new narrative created just to keep the negativity alive. Meanwhile, inside the league, where people actually understand what they're watching, the respect for him is unanimous. Players who face him know what it's like to try and stop him. Coaches know how miserable it is to scheme against him. Veterans know how rare his skill set is. But outside those walls, in certain pockets of the media, it feels like some folks made up their mind about him years ago and refused to evolve with the facts. And while all this noise is happening off the field, Lamar is out there doing what he always does, leading, competing, setting the standard, carrying a franchise that looks completely different the second he steps off the field. You don't have to be a Ravens fan to see it. All you have to do is watch what happens to that offense when he's not there. The energy changes. The explosiveness disappears. The confidence drops. And that alone should tell anyone who's even mildly objective that calling him overrated isn't just wrong, it's completely detached from reality. What makes the whole situation even more ridiculous is that Lamar has been the heartbeat of this team for years. He's the spark, the identity, the reason Baltimore is always in the conversation. And still, People throw out that same worn-out storyline like it hasn't been disproven time and time again. You can disagree on rankings. You can debate who's the best at any given moment. But to claim the guy is overrated when he's redefining what a quarterback can be is just lazy. It's not analysis. It's not criticism. It's manufactured outrage disguised as opinion. And the funniest part, all of this dropped on Lamar's day off, when he wasn't doing anything but staying focused on his body and getting ready for the Browns matchup ahead. The guy wakes up, practices, keeps his head down, and somehow ends up trending online because someone needed clicks. That's the part that gets everyone fired up, because it always seems to be him whenever there's a slow news day. Whenever someone needs a spark, they toss his name into the fire, and the reaction is instant. Because everyone has an opinion on Lamar, whether they understand his game or not. Now, while all that noise was happening outside the facility, the Ravens were shifting their focus back to the field because Week 11 brings Cleveland. And that matchup always comes with a little extra tension. The Browns are one of those teams that never seem to roll over, no matter how rough their season looks on paper. Baltimore hasn't swept them since the year 2020. And even though Cleveland is climbing out of that early 1-5 crater, they're still the type of opponent that forces you to earn every blade of grass. And for the Ravens, who are trying to get their momentum back and stack wins, this game isn't optional. It's a must-take-care-of-business situation. Plain and simple. While everyone was locked in on Lamar's drama, another name kept coming up inside the building: Keaton Mitchell. And if you've watched even a few snaps of this season, you already know why. The moment he steps on the field, you feel it. There's a shift, a spark, something different in the speed and the explosiveness. The guy doesn't jog through holes, he teleports. And the crazy part is that he spent so much of the year buried on the inactive list, watching from the sideline, waiting for a chance that should have come way earlier. Even he admitted it was frustrating. Imagine being one of the most electric players on the roster, fully healthy, and having to stand there knowing you could change the game if they just trusted you. But now that he finally has a role, you can see the confidence coming back. He talked to the media saying he felt blessed to get another opportunity, that he just wanted to make something shake this week. And you can tell he meant it. There's a hunger there. The same hunger we all saw back in the preseason when he exploded onto the scene against the Colts and looked like the fastest player on the field. That same burst is still there. That same swagger. That same lane-changing zip that elevates the entire offense just by existing. What makes Keaton so valuable right now is that he brings something the Ravens desperately needed. This offense, at times, gets stuck grinding through long, methodical drives. But when Keaton is in the backfield, you feel the threat of something huge happening at any moment. Defenses don't get a breather. They can't crowd the box in the same way. They can't assume a 3-yard run is just going to be a 3-yard run. Because if they take one bad angle, if one guy misses a tackle, he's gone. And that's what makes him such a headache. For opponents, you can't predict him, you can't time him, you just try to contain him and hope he doesn't find daylight. But the real fun begins when you pair him with Lamar on the field at the same time. Now you're talking about a backfield with two of the most dynamic open field players in football. You're talking about misdirection, motion, fake handoffs, cutbacks, RPOs, all with elite speed behind them. That's the kind of combination that keeps defensive coordinators up at night, staring at film like it's a horror movie, and Baltimore knows that. They've been hinting at expanding Keaton's role, finding more ways to get him involved, giving him more snaps beyond the change of pace looks. Because even if it means fewer touches for the other backs, the goal right now is winning, not maintaining a balanced carry chart. The Ravens need juice. They need explosiveness, and Keaton brings all of that without having to overhaul the playbook. His presence alone changes how defenses play. Now add in Lamar returning healthy, hungry, and ready to remind everyone why he's in a league of his own. And suddenly the Ravens' offense has the potential to take a big leap, heading into the second half of the season. And this week becomes even more interesting because Cleveland's defense always challenges Baltimore. They're physical, they're aggressive, they hit hard. But that kind of matchup is exactly where a player like Keaton sneaks up on a defense. That's the focus on stopping Lamar. You overcome it to the quarterback, and Keaton slips through a crease. You hesitate for half a second, and he's already in the second level. That's why everyone is talking about his spark, and why so many fans are fired up to see his snaps keep rising. Baltimore knows exactly what's on the line. They've dropped games they shouldn't have dropped. They've let opportunities slip away. And now, with the season at the midpoint turning into the home stretch, they can't afford to wait anymore. They can't sit on talent. They can't ease guys in. They need impact players on the field right now. And Keaton has proven he can change the entire rhythm of a drive with one touch. Better late than never, sure. But now that he's here, now that he's getting real action, it needs to continue. And with Lamar back, the offense steadier, the energy rising again, and the Browns on deck, the Ravens finally feel like they're getting their footing. It's been chaotic off the field, dramatic online, and loud in every corner of the fan base, but inside the facility the focus is clear. Get healthier, get sharper, get faster, and get wins. And as the week builds toward kickoff, the conversation also shifts to how Baltimore plans to use this backfield. If one of their bigger offensive pieces ends up missing time, it forces creativity, and honestly, that might not be a bad thing. Sometimes being pushed into new combinations ends up revealing wrinkles the team hadn't explored yet. With Lamar operating at full speed again and Keaton sliding into a bigger role, the Ravens have a chance to lean into a more unpredictable style of offense, one that doesn't rely on slow, methodical marches down the field, but instead on explosive plays that flip the momentum instantly. This matchup might be the perfect stage to unleash that. What makes all of this even more important is the timing. The AFC race is tight. Teams are bunching up, and a single win or loss can swing an entire playoff picture. Baltimore doesn't just need to beat Cleveland. They need to make a statement that they're done letting games slip away. They've had leads vanish. They've watched comfortable situations turn complicated, and the frustration has built up week by week. This is their chance to reset the tone of the season, playing sharper, playing faster, playing with urgency. Those small details could be the difference between a late-season surge and another stretch of inconsistency. The return of Lamar and the rise of Keaton give them the tools. Now they just have to execute. And as Ravens fans look ahead to Sunday, there's this familiar blend of nerves and excitement buzzing through the city. It's the kind of week where you can feel the anticipation building even if nothing dramatic happens at practice. Everyone knows how important this matchup is. Everyone understands the weight of divisional games, especially against a team that's always physical, always ready to drag you into a dogfight. But Baltimore has the talent, the leadership, and now the spark to shift the momentum back in their favor. The question isn't whether they can rise to the moment, it's whether they decide to step fully into the identity they've been inching toward all season. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. There's tension brewing once again in the AFC North, and this time, it's Myles Garrett holding the match. The Browns' defensive superstar has set the football world buzzing after a comment that many believe was a pointed shot at the Baltimore Ravens, a franchise that has long been one of Cleveland's fiercest and most personal rivals. Garrett, known as much for his quiet intensity as for his dominance on the field, doesn't often speak without purpose, but when he does, people listen, and this time, his words carried that unmistakable scent of rivalry. In a recent media appearance, Garrett spoke vaguely about certain teams who talk a lot about legacy, but forget what happens on the field. No names were mentioned, yet fans and analysts immediately connected the dots. The Ravens, with their proud history and recent swagger, seemed like the obvious target. Social media lit up almost instantly. Browns fans celebrated Garrett's confidence, interpreting the comment as a declaration that the new era in Cleveland won't bow to Baltimore's reputation. Ravens fans, naturally, fired back, accusing Garrett of trying to manufacture motivation. After years of frustration, it's not the first time the rivalry has turned personal. The history between the franchises is layered with tension, tracing all the way back to Cleveland's heartbreak over the original team's move to Baltimore decades ago. Every season, every hit, every sack feels like it carries that weight. Garrett's subtle provocation just poured gasoline on a fire that never really goes out. Inside both locker rooms, the buzz is impossible to ignore. Coaches downplay it publicly, but players reportedly have taken note. Garrett's teammates are said to have rallied behind him, calling his comments leadership through confidence across the division. A few Ravens veterans have apparently used it as bulletin board material, a reminder that respect in the AFC North is never given, it's taken, hit by hit. Whether Garrett meant to ignite this storm or not, he's done exactly that. The Browns and Ravens were already on a collision course. Now, that meeting carries an extra edge. The rivalry has found new life, fueled by one superstar's carefully chosen words, and everyone is watching to see what happens next. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.